Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Well, the Yankees won't be picking up a World Series ring this year, but I'm still kind of waiting for the MVP finalist, but that'll be after probably the World Series. But some Silver Slugger Awards to be handed out there, possibly, and a couple of Yankee names in contention there. So we'll kind of go over those names there if you haven't heard the news. It's kind of be a Silver Slugger episode for you, so make sure you subscribe to this podcast. Section 420, Talkin Yankees podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcast. Make sure also you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just dropped the latest episode a couple of days ago. Go to YouTube, search for Section 420, Talkin Yankees, subscribe there as well. Kind of give some talk about some of the press conferences, which we covered here on the audio podcast, but went a little step further. Also kind of went into the World Series and, Dodgers versus Blue Jays. Obviously, you're a Yankee fan, maybe just totally tuned out and into football. Maybe not even that because both New York football teams aren't the greatest either, but kind of give you my take of, I guess, at least who you should be rooting for, really. Really should be no surprise there, but again, you want to go to YouTube and check that out as well. So just name a couple of Yankees finalists there for the Silver Slugger. Really not a big surprise about him being Aaron Judge for the outfield, as well as Cody Bellinger, who's a bit of a jack of all trades for the Yankees, playing pretty much all three outfield positions, and again, had himself a pretty good season. At second base, again, having a 30-30 season, Jazz in the running, and last but not least, Ben Rice, now not exactly as a catcher, not exactly as a first baseman, but put in there as a new category called utility, and kind of makes sense there because he kind of did play both positions, did a little DHing for the Yankees there. So 4 Yankee finalists in there. Of all of them, I think you could pretty much pencil in Judge, 50-plus home runs and hitting well over 300 and this reputation and the whole 9 yards. And, of course, also in the MVP running. Other ones, a little bit of a competition. And in case you need, I guess, check the names, we'll kind of go over that. So second base, Jazz is competing with Brandon Lau. Now, he hit about 31 home runs as well as Jorge Polanco of the Seattle Mariners, hitting 265, also 26 home runs. Now, I'm sure those going to look at OPS and OBP and all those other things that's there, so it's all in consideration. I mean, obviously, if batting average has something to do with it, Jazz might not fare too well. Again, the other guys that might be just a little tick higher than him. Power-wise, obviously, had himself a good season with the 30-something home runs because that's who he's up against. Outfield, a mishmash, as I mentioned before, Judge and Bellinger. Also Byron Buxton of Minnesota. You got Riley Green of Detroit. Julio Rodriguez of Seattle. And finally, Yankee killer George Springer of the Blue Jays. All there in the running. Again, I think of all of them, you at least pencil in Aaron Judge. I think Bellinger possibly might have a little shot there as well. And then again, the last but not least, the quote-unquote utility position there. You got Michael Garcia of Kansas City, Zachary McKinstry of Detroit, Ben Rice as mentioned. So those are the three there of the kind of quote-unquote utility role there. So Ben Rice, he had a good home run season, all the craziness with the exit velo and all that stuff. But if anything, I would just say maybe lean on Judge more or less. I think with Jazz, he's kind of a bit of a, didn't get off to a great start there. And again, a lot of the stuff has been power. I mean, I know he upped his average, throughout the course of the season. I think he did a better job there. But I think they're going to consider some of the facts. Postseason might go into play, even though it's really not supposed to count. So if you see someone like Jorge Polanco at least moved on to the American League Championship Series against Toronto, would that favor him a little bit more, put him over the edge because maybe Ryder's got to, or Judge's things got to see him a little bit more. Those are all with the relevant possibility there. But at the very least, I think you could pencil in Judge. If you get someone else at another position, I just think Jazz, again, maybe the batting average might hurt him a little bit. Same thing with Bellinger. I don't think they're going to give it to 2 Yankees. Probably not the case there. I mean, it's possible, but probably something like maybe Julio Rodriguez will get it over Bellinger, but probably just looking at Judge in that case there at the very least. And again, not really excited about the Silver Slugger. Obviously you'd rather be playing in this World Series, which you're not. But that's the case there. And as for the World Series coming up this weekend, Toronto versus the Dodgers. Forced you to go over to watch the YouTube episode who I want to win the game. Shouldn't be a shocker there to you, but yeah, that's kind of, at least, logical. If you're thinking about both organizations, who do you want to see do better? Obviously, the Dodgers have more of a history. They've racked up some World Series lately, but Toronto's a team that's knocked you out, and a couple of people on that team you don't really like there. So, but I'll let you catch the YouTube episode on that one. And last but not least, never really got a chance to mention here or on the YouTube episode, and that's unfortunate passing away of former Yankee prospect Jesus Montero. Had a motorcycle accident down in the DR, and from reading, it wasn't really the accident that day. Supposedly, it happened actually several weeks ago. And unfortunately, just due to the injuries, they kind of put him in an induced coma, not to get too graphic here. And I guess finally succumbed to his injuries and so passed away tragically at a young age. And, maybe someone, you obviously remember the name a little bit. He was a big prospect back in 2014, 2015. Came up for the Yankees, played 18 games. But obviously he was involved in the trade to bring Michael Pineda here. Remember that with Seattle. And at the time, he became a bit expendable a little bit, if you remember, because the Yankees had like a bit of a plethora of catchers there. You had Jesus Montero, you had Austin Romine, a young guy called Gary Sanchez, if you may recall. And kind of everyone was kind of looking at the Yankees. They almost had a little luxury of riches there at the catcher position. We all know the story. Supposedly Jesus Montero was the better hitter. They said maybe he could be like the next Manny Machado. But Austin Romine was always known as the better defensive catcher. Gary Sanchez, always, I think the Yankees signed him when he was like 16 there and however that worked out. But they were kind of focusing on, I think, Gary Sanchez as the future there. So Montero came a little bit expendable. So they made the trade to bring Pineda in here. And, it was kind of weird team because it was like those Yankee years of 2014, 2015, 2016. Yankees really weren't that good. And Pineda kind of had his good moments, bad moments. I went to a game once where he had a no-hitter going through like the 7th inning. Yeah, he had some nasty stuff there, but never really panned out the way that, you figure he would have been with the Yankees, kind of his guys. Almost when the Yankees had Jose Contreras back in 2003. A good arm, kind of throws off funky angles and stuff like that, but it could never really control his stuff. Obviously the low point for Michael Pineda was when he had the pine tar in his neck there and got caught. Then again, after I guess he was just done with the Yankees and went to move on to greener pastures, places like Minnesota and so forth. And Jesus Montero, when they traded him to Seattle, they I guess never really panned out much. I think his last professional game was like in 2017 or 2018, like that. Just whatever reason, I remember he had a lot of promise, but for just never really panned out there. But unfortunately, recently passed away there, so just kind of recognize him. So that's the episode. Very quick there. Just got a few Yankees in the running there for the Silver Slugger there. And of course, unfortunately, Jesus Montero passing away at a very young age there. So we'll catch you next time.